thinking now, I go fast forward into my like peak epic patriarch archetype, which is the Godfather. You know, I rant about it all the time. But how different is that in comparison to all of these different romantic relationships? You know, the depictions of like the ideal trad romance. Where you've got all the working women and then a man who's incompetent or pretends to be incompetent in order to get the woman. The Godfather is the complete opposite. Women are at home, central focus is family life, and the only way the men can get at them is if they integrate into patriarchal structure and prove themselves worthy enough to stay in that patriarchy and take care of the women that are a part of the patriarchy. And then they're depicted as criminals and murderers, and it's like, I find that really interesting.
Well, so what would we say is,
if you want to be trad Catholics, you have to be gangsters.
Well, you just blew. So if you want to be trad, you have to be Catholic.
Yeah.
So this one, the still that I'm showing now is from Gigi, right? And this is the opposite version of things that, you know, the French movie where she's growing up with her courtesan aunt, the great aunt, and her mother is a singer, right? So you never see the mother; she's always just practicing her songs. And I think the grandmother, she's living with the grandmother, and the great aunt is trying to train her how to be a proper courtesan, right? And she, in fact, doesn't want to be, and she wants to, then, you know, therefore have the romance that she does. And I must have fallen asleep because I don't remember how it played out, right? But there was a lot of elegance and beautiful Edwardian turn of the century dresses and things like that in it. But the problem that she had to start with was how not to end up a courtesan, how in fact to end up, the virtuous young woman that this nobleman is going to fall in love with. I think he has to make some provision so that he can actually be with her rather than not just take care of her, which is what the usual arrangement had been.
That's interesting. So the switch between business arrangement to romance.
Casey says, as soon as Gigi comes of age, Gaston is banished from the house until he agrees to court her properly. Yes, well, she's sort of grown up, like having him as her playmate, that they play cards and things like that, and then Gigi grows up, and now. But the thing is, I think the Casey, you can correct me if I admit I've seen all of these A in a blur and B sick. So, the great aunt is actually sad that Gigi doesn't want to accept Gaston's arrangement to have her as his mistress, which I think neither Gigi nor Gaston want. But the sort of scandal in this one is that Gigi wants to, in fact, be properly married, but she's poor. So how can he do that? He has to, give up his aristocratic expectation of marrying someone his own social class.
Then we get into hypergamy.
Oh wait, we got some more slides here, right? See, where are we going now? Oh, here we have.
That's the other thing.
This is Cary Grant with that's Betsy Drake, I believe, who he did actually marry, and so they're in the she's dressed up to try to she's trying to pretend that she is somebody that he would want to be with, and interestingly in real life she did persuade him, so that's nice. So the which way do we go? I'm trying to get to the last one she gave me. There we go. The ladies in their diamonds.
Oh, okay. Gentlemen prefer blondes. Yes. So should I
talk about that? Yes.
Talk about why I chose that.
Yes.
Because it's a beautifully honest look at the necessity of gold digging in Western culture.
I mean, they're the opposite of everyone we've been talking about. Is these professional women who are not, it's like Doris Day taking pity on Rock Hudson characters because they're clumsy. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay.
Marilyn is feminine as no one else, because she's not interested whatsoever in helping men at all. Doesn't care. Has no, like, there's no free affection. No free affection, no free respect. She's very black and white. It's very easy to get her attention. So in this story, her name's Lorelei. I forget her friend's name, but they're two. They work, but they work as performance. They're artists. They dance and they're singing in nightclubs as entertainment. So not really ambitious in the same sense of, you know, working in a corporate environment or in an office environment. And both of them are unmarried, and both want to get married. Marilyn Monroe's character is engaged to a guy who is very wealthy, and the girls are going on a cruise, and they're on their way to Paris so that she can get married. But her fiance's father is not very happy with the arrangement because she's not wealthy at all. She's got no money. And he's unhappy about the arrangement because he thinks that she's just marrying his son for the money. So in the background, there's a lot of scheming to get the wedding cancelled. And the girls go on this cruise. They're on the way to France. And you see throughout this cruise Marilyn Monroe's relationship to wealth and how shameless she is about admitting that she loves money. She's only interested in giving her attention to men with money. So there's this funny scene where she's talking to a gentleman who's introduced to her, and she starts to have a vision as someone's telling her that he owns a diamond mine in South Africa. And suddenly, you know, you see the diamond kind of going over his face and shine, and, you know, he's got her full attention. But it's a really good story. It's a really good look at actually what is happening in a lot of marriage arrangements that people don't talk about out in the open, and what people's expectations are for relationships that they don't talk about in the open. Whereas Marilyn's character is completely honest and actually quite virtuous. She's not messing around behind her fiance's back. She's very, very, very loyal. Mm-hmm. She's got men throwing themselves at her. They're paying money to the head waiter at the restaurant in the cruise liner in order to sit at the same table as her and her friend. So she's that valuable that men are willing to pay hundreds of dollars in order to sit at the same table as her. But even though they're willing to do that, people are scandalized by her admission that she wants to marry money. Mm-hmm. So the whole film is this magnificent, like, revealing of the hypocrisy of everybody, because her best friend, on the other hand, is denying that that's a factor in the relationship, denying that that's going to be a factor in her choosing a mate. And so she starts talking to a guy who is pretending. He's there spying on them, pretending to be another cruise passenger, but he's actually there to wreck the relationship between Marilyn Monroe and her rich fiance, working for the future father-in-law. Anyway, so her friend is going with him because she thinks he's poor, and you know, she doesn't want to be perceived as the gold digger that her best friend is. And Marilyn is telling her, what's the point in not, you know, going for someone with money? And she said, oh, that's all you care about. And she said, well, you can, you know, if you had the choice between the two of them, which would be better, someone handsome who loves you with money, or someone handsome who loves you with no money? So it's very funny, very, very good overview of this, like, kind of tension. And at the end of the film, the wedding, Marilyn's wedding, is sabotaged, and she's beside herself. She's brokenhearted. Her fiance travels to see her eventually, and they reconcile, and he says, my father's not going to permit the wedding. She said, well, we have to go and talk to him, because if he doesn't get the father's permission, he doesn't get the inheritance. Right. So she goes with him to speak to the father, and then has this wonderful monologue where the father says, "You're only, I don't trust you," and blah blah blah. "I don't think you really love my son." And she says, "Oh, no, I do love your son." And he said, "Oh, you're only marrying him for his money." She goes, "No, I'm marrying him for your money." So he's completely scandalized. And he's completely scandalized by this. And then she says, "Well, what's wrong with that? If you had a daughter, wouldn't you want her to have the best of everything? If you had a daughter, wouldn't you want her also to marry someone who had the means to take care of her and give her everything she wanted and make her wildly happy?"
Mm-hmm.
So he's sort of going silent because he realizes he's not dealing with an idiot. And anyway, so she manages to kind of flip the conversation on the shame that she's been receiving with her shameless gold digging, saying, "I do actually love him, but I would prefer to be in love with a man who doesn't have money troubles so that we can just focus on being in love and not focus on the woes of financial difficulty and poverty, etc." So she's revealing herself to be this ideal romantic. She wants love in the marriage without any of the money worries. So it's quite cute. So anyway, she takes the father off to persuade him, and then eventually he consents to the wedding. So her and her best friend, they end up getting married together. It's a double wedding. It's very cute. But it's a great storyline, because in all of these other situations, you've got the women working who are, in all of the Hays Code movies, you've got all of the women who are working, they're independent, they're embarrassed to admit that they need the man. If there's the breakup, they're not even emotional about it. So it's like they're almost, it was like a psychotic independence. They're financially and materially independent, but they're emotionally and spiritually independent. It's like there was no need for the connection. Whereas Marilyn, she's shamelessly telling everybody she wants complete material dependence, but also she wants the love. I don't know, I just thought it was very cute. It was like, oh, this is actually romantic. There was something genuinely romantic in that story that doesn't exist in all of those other movies. Yeah.
Well, to me, it's always felt that there's this, going back to your in real life online conversations, this kind of strange refusal to recognize that women actually do want men who can take care of them.
Yes.
And that you could say it seems like decades of Evo Psych should have given us an easy answer here. When you are, pregnant or nursing or caring for your children or homeschooling and stuff, you really need a man to be able to take care of you, to protect you from the wolves outside the cave door, as it were.